Okay, so welcome back to the Panhandle Weight Loss Center kitchen. What you guys are actually going to get today on this video is going to be a voiceover from me. So it's Chelsey. I'm the dietitian here at Panhandle Weight Loss. For whatever reason, the audio didn't record whenever I initially recorded this video. So you got the voiceover version of me today. So I hope you enjoy. But what we're going to be making today is going to be a steak fajita salad. The steak that we're using is going to be from Ribbon Wire Ranch. And then we're also going to make some Parmesan Crisps to go with it. That recipe is going to be in the bariatric cookbook. It's super simple, guys, and so delicious. So I hope you'll try it out. So first, you're just going to get the Parmesan cheese, about a tablespoon. You're going to just kind of go ahead and spread it out onto your parchment paper. We've just got it on a cookie sheet. I mean, you could ultimately put it on one of the little pads, something nonstick, essentially. So just spread those tablespoons out. I think the recipe in the book calls for maybe 12 or so, but just however many fit on your paper is going to be just fine. So spread those out, kind of pat it down. When you pat it down, it's just going to kind of smooth it out. That way it'll melt kind of evenly. I'm being a little bit of a perfectionist there, making them all into small little rounds. But then we're going to add those into the oven. You just want to put them in for a couple of minutes. So it's just to kind of get them a little bit melted before you put the seasonings on. So just pop them in the oven for about 3 minutes. And since you maybe can't see the oven in the video, the temperature for the oven, you preheat it to 400 degrees. So again, 400 degrees, you let that preheat, pop those little rounds in there for about 3 minutes. Okay, and while we wait for those to cook, we're going to go ahead and season the steak. So this first cut that I have is the Bavette Cut from Ribbon Wire Ranch. I had actually never had this before, and since I'm recording this afterwards, I can tell you it's actually one of the better fajita meats that I've ever had. So it was super delicious. So we're just going to use a generic seasoning on this one. This one that we're using is just going to be the garlic pepper. You could use, fajita seasoning. Ultimately, you could just really use whatever you wanted to use. I'm putting a little bit of salt on there. Pink Himalayan salt, to be exact, from the salt store here in Amarillo. And I just put that on the top of it. I didn't season the bottom. You definitely could. I mean, it's really totally up to you, just in your preferences. But gonna get this ready to kind of go ahead and put into the Ninja Grill. So as you know, with the Ninja Grill, it has the probe, and so you can just stick the probe in, and then it'll cook it to whatever temperature you want. So whether you want it rare, medium well done, whatever it is, you can just select that option and it'll cook it to that temperature. If you don't have a Ninja Grill and you're doing this in the oven or on the grill itself, I would say in the oven, you're probably going to cook it like 375, depending on the thickness of your meat. I mean, you're at least going to cook it for 15 minutes, I would say. You're just basically going to have to cook it how you normally cook meat. You can use a thermometer and things like that to check it if you need to. But go ahead and put that steak in. Going to grab these Parmesan Crisps out of the oven. They're a little bit melted now, so we want to go ahead and put in the seasonings. So I'll go ahead and we've already mixed them up into that little bowl, but what it is, it's a teaspoon of poppy seeds, a teaspoon of sesame seeds, 1 teaspoon garlic flakes, 1 teaspoon onion flakes, and just kind of mix that all together. And then you're just going to sprinkle a little bit of the seasoning mix on top of the Parmesan crisp. This just kind of gives it a little extra crunch, a little extra flavor, plus all of those seeds that you're adding in there. I mean, it's not much, but it is going to add a little bit of fat into the into the Parmesan crisp. Plus, usually with the like poppy seeds and stuff like that, you'll get some vitamins and minerals that you may not necessarily get a whole lot of, like magnesium and selenium, things like that. So adding that on top of there, and then we're just going to put that back into the oven until they're a nice golden brown. That will probably take about another 3 to 5 minutes, I would say. And again, that's going to be at 400 degrees in the oven. Technically, you could probably do this in the air fryer as well if you wanted, but you'd have to put down like some parchment paper or something like that. So put them back in the oven, let them get nice and golden, and then we'll update you on that in just a second. Okay, while we're waiting for the steak to finish and for the Parmesan crisp to finish, we're going to do an avocado cream dressing. And this is also found in the bariatric cookbook. So we've kind of already, like put everything aside. But basically, we're going to add in the avocados. And just a little trick I'm talking about here is how to keep your avocados from getting brown. You can leave that pit in the avocado mix, and that will help. But then also making some sort of a barrier to the air. If you put like some saran wrap on top of it, or if you put a little bit of lemon juice or lime juice or, something like that is going to help to avoid that brown that you get sometimes when you wait with the avocados. All right, so we're going to be adding our other ingredients. So essentially with the avocado cream sauce, what we're going to add in is 2 garlic cloves. So we've already got our 2 avocados. We've got our 2 garlic cloves. We'll do half of a jalapeno. And then going to go ahead and add 6 ounces of a plain Greek yogurt. The only one they had at the store was a low-fat or a non-fat from Chobani. But if you can find the full-fat version, I would recommend that just because you'll get a little bit of extra fat, which is going to mean a little bit of extra fullness, a little more satisfaction with your meal, things like that. So we're putting this into a blender. You could very well put it into a food processor if you wanted. You just whatever you have that's going to blend that up. So put the yogurt in there, and then we're going to add those other ingredients into the blender. That way we can make it into a dressing or a cream type sauce. All right, and I added a little bit of salt, about a 1/4 teaspoon. Honestly, I didn't measure. I just kind of pour a little bit in. It's not much. And then you want to add the juice of 1 lime. So I've already cut the lime in half. I think I told you on our last video or one of our other videos, you can, if you don't have like a juicer, you can use one of the things that squeezes it. You can just use your hands like I'm doing, or you can put your fork into the middle of the lime and kind of twist the fork while you squeeze on the lime. And that's going to help make sure you get all that juice out because I don't know if you guys are like me, but I really like things to be pretty limey if I'm making it. So the more lime, the better. And one thing I will note, this recipe kind of makes more of a cream than it does a dressing. And so if you want it to be more dressing consistency, you could add more of the lime juice. You could add a little bit of water. You could add a little bit of avocado oil, a little bit of olive oil. I mean, just really kind of whatever you wanted to do to make it more of that consistency that you're looking for. All right, and here I'm just kind of going over the same thing. So ready to put that blender on. So I went ahead and tightened that lid. You guys, this is a Ninja blender. We don't have any affiliation with Ninja, but we just like their products. We've actually had that blender for a while in our kitchen when we used to do some protein shake videos and things like that. But I'm just going to go ahead and put that on blend. It's going to kind of crush everything up. As you can see, I'm having to kind of push everything down from the top because it's super, super thick. And you can pulse it in your blender or your food processor, or you can actually do, like the blend setting. I mean, it really doesn't matter. All right, it's getting nice and blended. You can see it's pretty thick. Part of that is also going to depend on how ripe your avocados were. So we'll kind of hold off on that because the meat's ready. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this out of there. It looks absolutely delicious. It's got that nice kind of crisp brown on the top. So I pulled out the thermometer. If you keep it in, it'll tell you, how long you want it to rest. This was a fairly large cut of meat, I guess you would say, for the Ninja anyways. And so just going to let it rest for a little bit. That way it can soak in some of those juices. But I do want to kind of check it and make sure that it's cooked how I like it. So typically with this cut of meat, you would go against the grain, but I just got to cut it in half here just so I can see. and it's probably medium, maybe medium rare. So it's got that really like dark pink center. For me personally, I mean, you guys are going to laugh at this, but I would eat my meat well done. I know that's a shame. But so I am going to put that back in just for a little bit more cooking. Sorry about the remaining red on the cutting board. But the avocado cream, I did add, because mine was a little bit too thick, so I added a little bit of avocado oil, and I added a little bit more lime juice and a little bit of water just to make it more of a runny consistency, more like a dressing. And this makes quite a bit. So this is something that, you know, if you make the full recipe, you're definitely going to have some leftovers, unless you're cooking for a huge family. But if you do have leftovers, you know, pop them into a mason jar or something, put it in the fridge, and then, you know, use it later. All right, and this avocado cream, I mean, it's just a super simple recipe. It really, you know, kind of adds a lot of kick to the meal that you're doing. And so I would highly recommend it. It goes great with Mexican food, of course. So now kind of talking about the salad portion, since the meal today is fajita salad, you just basically use whatever greens you want. I mean, this one right here is just some mixed greens. We've got some spinach, some arugula, some kale in there. But I mean, if you only like spinach, great, do that. If you only like kale, perfectly fine. I mean, it's totally up to you. Here, I'm just kind of making it, you know, a more personalized salad, adding a little bit of diced red onion. Okay, I put some nice tomatoes on there. They were absolutely delicious. You notice they're a couple different colors. So we've got some orange, we got some yellow, we got some red. That's always what I look for in veggies. You know, the more colors, the better. Adding in just a few mushrooms on top of the salad. Mushrooms, you know, lots of benefits there. And then, of course, our delicious Parmesan crisp. Okay, just kind of adding those to the side for a little bit of crunch, because as you all know, it is not a meal with Chelsey unless you have a little bit of crunch. I just added a little bit of the cilantro that we had from the salsa. I just added a little bit of that on top. Herbs are a great way to add a flavor, especially to a salad, you know, without having to add a ton of dressing or something like that. You can easily add those herbs and it gives it a really good kick. Okay, so now we're ready to add the steak. I cooked it a little bit longer, but this is a good cut and going to go against the grain there, like I said before. So just cutting off a couple of strips. So if you have had surgery, you know, the steak portion is going to be something that you'll probably only be able to eat, I don't know, maybe 3 ounces of. So I just kind of cut off 3 little strips. Might be a little bit more, a little bit less, I think. Okay, so here I'm doing 4 little strips, and that's probably going to give you right at 3 ounces. So if you're curious kind of what 3 ounces is, that's about right. And I mean, the cook is really nice. I know you guys can't see it super well, but it's got a nice even cook. It's, you know, pretty much pink throughout. And that's a request from my coworkers because that's who I feed with this food. And they don't like their meat well done. Shocker. So just add that to the top of your salad. And then we're going to add a little bit of that avocado cream, just kind of give it a stir, get a nice spoonful and kind of drizzle it on top. I just drizzle it mostly on the steak. That's where you'll get that extra flavor. But if you want to add also just kind of a little bit of a spoonful on the side for you to dip your salad in, that's a great option. All right, and just sprinkle a little bit of the salt on top. And there you go. Actually, I think what I sprinkled on top maybe was not salt. I think it was actually the leftover seasoning from the Parmesan crisp, because that's delicious. So added that on top. We've got a nice balanced meal. We've got our veggies from the salad. We've got our fat from both the dressing and the Parmesan crisp. And then we've got our protein from the steak. So nice and fresh. This meal is something that you would have to wait until about 8 weeks out from surgery to have, because it is, you know, pretty high in fiber. And so, you know, if you're only a couple weeks out, this is definitely not a meal for you. But if you are a little further out, absolutely, by all means, go ahead and, you know, make this. Let us know what you think. And thanks for joining us today. Okay, and another voiceover video because for whatever reason, the audio did not record on this one either. Whenever I pulled the microphone off after we finished the video and I looked at it and the light wasn't on, my heart sank. But voiceover is fine. So what we're going to be doing in this video is some steak fajitas. Again, this is from Ribbon Wire Ranch here in the Panhandle. If you want to order from their website, use code PWLC for 10% off. So this is just, like a skirt steak. And so skirt steak, isn't the best quality of meat, I would say. It's kind of an afterthought. It's definitely not like a filet mignon. But if you season it well enough and cook it right, you can have a really good quality meat. So basically what we're going to do with this, we're just going to use some fajita seasoning, just kind of a generic fajita seasoning. So first, what you want to do, like we do with all of our stuff, go ahead and drizzle a little bit of that avocado oil on the top of the steak. That way the seasoning has something to stick to. And then add that fajita seasoning on top. This is just a pretty generic fajita seasoning. You could also, do a fajita rub. I would just say if you're doing that, make sure it's not something that has a lot of added sugar to it. Even if it's brown sugar, still sugar. So make sure it's a good, low sugar option, but you can also just go simple and add salt and pepper, maybe a little garlic, because that never hurt anybody, did it? So I was going to add a little bit more to the backside, just trying to maneuver there so I don't get steak juice all over everything. So add a little more avocado. And the reason I did both sides on this is because it's a pretty thin cut of meat. So just wanting to season. And then also, I just think fajita meat needs a little bit more seasoning. So adding a little bit more there. And then we're going to cook this in the Ninja grill. I'm not going to use the probe because it's so thin. So it's really probably not going to stay very well. But if you're cooking this on your grill, go for a medium heat. It's probably going to take you, depending on how thick it is and how well done you want it, 15 minutes or so. If you're cooking this, at home, you don't have a grill, you don't have a Ninja grill. If you've got a cast iron skillet, that would work great as well. Or you can also just, throw it in the oven. You can do it that way, or you can, just put it in a skillet and cook it. So a meat thermometer would probably be your best option to invest in. So just to be able to tell, how done it is. Went ahead and flipped that meat in the Ninja grill just to kind of get both sides nice and seared. And then it tells me that it's ready. So we're just going to kind of check that. It's like falling apart. So that's always a good sign. Guys, if you're newer to cooking, you may not be able to do this, but I've been cooking for a little while. And so you can kind of just tap the meat like that just to tell how done it is. The more movement you have, like the squishier it is, the less done it's going to be. So you can just kind of get a good idea. That's what I'm talking about there, is just kind of, if you don't have that meat thermometer, maybe a way that you could check without cutting into the meat first. So we're letting that meat rest. And while we're doing that, going to go ahead and cook up some of the fajita veggies. So we've just got some yellow and red bell pepper, some white onion diced up in there. For this one, the store didn't have great bell peppers, so we actually used the little snack size bell peppers, and it worked really well. Going to drizzle a little bit of that avocado oil on top. Okay. And then some seasonings. Going to use a little black pepper. You could use a little bit of salt as well if you wanted to. You could also even put a little bit more of that lime juice on it if you wanted. So just to kind of show you that you can do this in the Ninja grill, that's what we're doing. Also because I don't have a way to cook facing you on the oven. So we just took out the little grill plate that's inside the Ninja, and we're just putting the veggies directly down into the bottom. So kind of like you would if you were air frying something. I found some mushrooms that we had left over from the steak salad, so I'm adding those mushrooms to it as well. And then you're just going to cook this on high and just kind of stir it around in there, get that oil on every little piece, kind of give it a good stir. And then you'll want to close the lid and let it cook for a little bit, open it up every couple minutes, check it, stir it around until everything is, the way you like it cooked, which is for me on the veggies with fajitas, going to be just kind of a soft, but still maybe with a little bit of crunch. All right, so our veggies still cooking here. Just want to give them a little toss like I mentioned. Basically if there's, some of the veggies that are getting more done, you can pull those out. But I think all of ours are pretty much done at the same time. So they've got a nice goldenness to them. So I'm going to pull them out. Tons of nice veggies. You got that good color. Eating the rainbow is going to give you the best variety in your vitamins and minerals that you get from your food. So that's always good. You don't want to stick with just one thing all the time. So I got about, I would say that's actually probably like a full plate of veggies right there. It's a small plate, but I got a full plate of veggies there. Going to go ahead, since we've let the meat rest a little bit, going to go ahead and cut into that. So again, I just kind of halved it, but then we're going to cut it the other way, more against the grain, because that's what the experts do, right? And since we don't have as much other stuff with this meal, probably you could do a little bit more. You may be able to do like 4 or 5 slices of the meat instead of just, 3 or 4. If you've had surgery, if you're watching this and you haven't, eat until you're full. And the steak was cooked a good, what I would consider probably medium, maybe even medium well. So just add that to the side there. So you can see, we're doing fajitas. We don't have tortillas. That's kind of part of it whenever you've had surgery. But going to add a little bit of avocado there. If you don't know how to do the avocado, got to slice it in half first, take out the pit. I then just kind of score or just, kind of lightly cut on the inside to be in slices. Or if you wanted it in cubes, you could, do it the other way as well and more so dice it up. And then I just squeeze. Not super fancy here. I think most people would probably get a spoon and kind of spoon it out, but just kind of squeeze that on the side because we needed a little bit of extra fat to this meal. We've got the nice fiber from the veggies. We've got the protein in the meat. Here I'm adding just a little bit of pico for some flavor. And we're going to do another video someday where I make pico for you guys, but that one was just store-bought. It's not as great, but it'll work in a pinch. Add a little bit of cheese and then a little bit of that cilantro there. Plus, if you'll remember, we've got the avocado slices on the side. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of that leftover avocado cream as well that you could either, dip your veggies in, dip the steak in. You can use it however you want, but it's absolutely delicious. And so I'm going to try this for you guys. This is my least favorite part. I'm going to try it for you. And since I'm doing this voiceover after the fact, I will tell you the fajita meat was good, but it was definitely not good as that Bavette Cut. So like if I were going for one, that's probably the one that I would order from them. I had never had that cut of meat. At least I don't think so. Maybe they call it a different name, but it was super juicy and tender and it had a really good flavor. This is a meal, if you've had surgery, the veggies and the avocado you could really have starting about week 5 after surgery. The meat though, you would really want to wait until about week 8. So maybe something more for the long term or an alternative, when everybody's wanting to go out for Mexican food, just maybe make your own at home instead. All right, guys, thanks for joining. I hope you enjoy both of our recipes. Give us some feedback if you have a chance. Thank you.